As I say these words, we don't know what the future for WWE house shows are. I mean, they can't even have fans at Raw or SmackDown tapings, so what the hell is going to happen for the events that kind of go on behind closed doors? And no, I don't mean that ironically. I mean, even before all this global pandemic stuff, Vince McMahon was saying, well, I think there's a way to change house shows and I'm going to show you soon, and then he never did. But that doesn't mean we can't look back to them and smile with some delicious memories. So my name is Simon from What Culture. Thank you very much for joining me, and this is 10 secrets you only learn when attending a WWE house show. Number 10, wrestlers are massive. Now we all kind of forget this because we see them on television all the time, but when you actually see a wrestler in person, it is like, oh my gosh, that guy is huge. Like Randy Orton, I met Randy Orton once, and he is about 9'2", but you wouldn't think that by watching it on television. I mean, also, if we go back to the mid-2000s, do you remember having the mid-2000s? All of a sudden, everybody was talking about how big Big Show's hands were. And that did leave a lot of us to go, why the hell are we talking about Big Show's hands? But it's because they're so flipping big that if he did punch you with one, your head would probably explode. But this all does tie into the Vince McMahon philosophy, which of course is when you're walking through an airport, you want somebody so monstrous in size that everybody else is like, who is that guy? I need to hunt them down. And lo and behold, watch some professional wrestling. I mean, they called the WWF back then the land of the giants for a reason, and even today, it's so easy to forget until you do go to a house show and get up close and personal with these people. My word. Number 9, it isn't TV. For many that don't live in major towns in North America, sometimes the only wrestling or WWE you were able to see was a house show, but that can come as a little bit of a surprise because you get in the arena, you got your popcorn, you got your hot dog, you sit down, and you look over to the entranceway and you're like, where the hell is the awesome stage? That looks a bit like a broom cupboard. And a small part of this is on WWE because they've had the same setup for so long, you just presume that every single show is going to be that way, but that's not the case. If there's no need to have a wonderful set for television, they just don't do it. This also comes down to the introduction of the Titantron in 1997, because I don't want to burst your bubble, but again, if you do go to one of these events, I don't think they're going to have a Titantron. In fact, I've been to many, probably well over 20, 25, and I've never seen it. I doubt you will either. So it is a very stripped down experience, although I will say over the last few years it was much better than it was. Like back in the day it was a curtain and wrestlers would just walk up being like, yeah, I guess I'll go do a little bit of a wrestle. And sometimes they kind of did, but sometimes they didn't even do that. But you've got a bump card, you don't want to fill it up. Number 8, some events are actually changing everything I just said. If you go back to around about 2010, you actually have a very similar situation to what we had recently, because Vince McMahon was like, we got to do something about house shows, and he decided to upgrade the look. He decided to upgrade the feel. As mentioned, that doesn't mean you get a Raw, SmackDown, or pay-per-view worthy setup, but what you did get was just a little bit more character and sometimes even a name to brand that house show event as something a bit more. For example, Starrcade. Now, of course, this was a little bit tongue-in-cheek because that wasn't a WWE invention, and we all know what that company likes to do with things that they didn't create. But did it add a little something extra, a little bit of oomph, don't thrust it's bad, to proceedings? Yes, it did, although you'd never know that unless you went along. The WWE Network was also responsible for this because they'd actually put house shows on the damn thing, and that is a completely different world from like the mid-80s and the mid-90s. Now you know. Number 7, WWE is for kids. If you have children or your own, or you've seen kids watching professional wrestling, you have an epiphany when you go, oh my gosh, I've been moaning on Reddit so much, I've been moaning on Twitter so much, I forgot that when you first get into wrestling, you are a youth, and that's when the sports entertainment is the best. It's why people love Roman Reigns, it's why people love John Cena, it's why people love flipping Hulk Hogan. Because not only do house shows keep things simple and straightforward, but they're also a family-attended event because you have kids the world over going, please, mommy, please, daddy, take me to the WWE show. I want to cheer the big dog. And I know you just want to go on a YouTube video like you're watching now, leave a comment going, Roman Reigns is over, pushed. But little Larry doesn't care about that. Larry just wants to see his hero. You also have to remember that when it does come to children, they are always going to be more excited at a live event than they are watching it on television, because maybe John Cena does come out and go, and you never want to wash that hand again. I did that when I was basically an adult. I was so excited to see Triple H, I went bonkers, and I looked like a moron, but sometimes you've got to take a step back and remind yourself of this, and the house show will do it every time. Number 6, it may show you what a character is going to do next on TV. When the cameras are off at house shows, the rule is it didn't actually happen and it's not part of the canon and it's not part of the story. and this is mostly because WWE will trial things out on house shows, and if it works and it gets a good reaction, they put it on Raw or SmackDown. Like, there are stories way back when, after WrestleMania 15, when Triple H came out to the D-Generation X music, but by that point, he was also trying to be a heel. And did that work? No, it did not. As soon as people heard, "Are you ready?" they went nuts. And that's not what the game wanted, so he never tried to do it again. And you can do the flip side example to this too, because in 2004, all of a sudden Bradshaw at these events in full APA attire was turning on John Cena and challenging for the United States Champion. Now that did get a reaction from the fans, so do you know what happened on TV weeks later? JBL was born and he was going after the world title, and he was going after Eddie Guerrero. Viva la Raza. I mean, that was a huge gamble to begin with, but WWE didn't just run in there like an absolute crazy person. They had trialed it, decided that it wasn't an error, and that's when we did get JBL, who really was one booed ass heel. Everybody hated him. Number 5, learning about what the term sold out actually means. WWE for a while would always tell us that every single house show they did was sold out, and we believed them because why the hell wouldn't we? Then the phone camera became a very popular item, and all of a sudden on the internet you could see that sometimes not a lot of people were going to these events. In fact, sometimes whole bits had to be tarped off. And I get this, it makes sense, it's all about supply and demand. If Michael Cole sat there on a Monday night and went, look, we really need you to come to the show, nobody's bought any tickets, that doesn't sound like something very exciting. But if everyone's like, oh, we've only got a few left, we're gonna be sold out, you may go, oh no, I need to get one, I can't miss out on this, what a moron. So it's easy to believe that the company is a tour de force that sells out show after show after show every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But that's not the case at all, which is why in many ways this global pandemic actually helped out a little bit, because maybe it gives Vince McMahon time to figure out how to get those numbers back up again. Number 4, title changes still feel special. There are many examples we could talk about, but one of my favorites was back in July 2017 when from nowhere AJ Styles defeated Kevin Owens for the United States Championship in Madison Square Garden on a house show, and it blew everybody's minds and reminded you that yes, title changes can feel still special, and you never know what's gonna happen when World Wrestling Entertainment is in town. I don't know why I jigged. And this is quite a difficult thing to balance, because the whole point is you can't do this all the time, because then it becomes commonplace, but you need to do it enough to plant the idea in people's heads, look man, you have to come down and watch this, because maybe you're going to see something historic. And if we're honest too, apart from the kids in the audience that we've already talked about, if you are an adult going to a house show, you know deep down, because you know better than anybody, that you're not going to see a belt change hands, so when it does, in that wonderful moment you suspend your disbelief, and you're there, you're emotionally engaged, and you remember why you're going to love wrestling until you die, even though, for a lot of it, you're just moaning away. Sometimes it can even get a better pop and a better reaction on a house show than it would on Raw or SmackDown, again, because of the expectation levels, and this is why I actually do hope they come back soon. Number 3, how a pay-per-view match may look. Let's put it as nice and simple as you can. If you've got a major show, a major event, a pay-per-view coming up, and you've got 2 dudes that you know are going to work together, why wouldn't you allow them to get used to each other and try and work up some chemistry by putting them on a house show where you know nobody's gonna see it? I mean, even if everyone in the arena films it, it's only gonna get so far. It's a great way to do the match before the match. Sometimes wrestlers treat this like a comedian in the smaller circuits as well before they do their big show on Netflix, and they will try a spot, they'll listen to the crowd, and if it doesn't get a good reaction, they'll scrap it, and the next night they'll try a different one. If that one gets everyone going crazy, again, they'll put it on SummerSlam, WrestleMania, whatever the hell they're building towards. So this isn't like doing a dark match on Raw or SmackDown. This is working with the same dude day in, day out, where you can work out the kinks and you can decide what story you want to tell, and 9 times out of 10 this works, and you blow the roof off the place when it was time to do it. Also, if you do make a mistake, less people are going to care, but reverse that, and you're absolutely going to be a topic on Reddit with the word botch next to your name, because you're not allowed to be human. Number 2, just how damn hard ring announcers and referees work. If you do not believe what I'm saying, go and listen to former WWE referee Mike Chioda on an episode of the Talk Is Jericho podcast. If you're a referee or a ring announcer in WWE, you're not just a ring announcer, and you're not just a referee, you may be doing production, you may be doing music, you're probably setting up and taking down the ring, you have to do damn everything. Chioda even told this amazing story where he was indeed in charge of the entrance themes that night, left for a few minutes to go to the bathroom when Owen Hart snuck up to the desk and started playing somebody's music too early, so by the time Mikey Boy came back, he had the other staff in his ear going, "What the hell are you doing? The match is still going on in the ring." It was really funny. So the next time you see one of these people, may give them a little bit more thanks than you would do otherwise, because without them, there is no professional wrestling. Number 1, that WWE is still fun. There is just so much joy to be found at WWE house shows because the performers and the wrestlers and the talent can basically do whatever they want, and when you see that passion and you see that creativity, it is just a blast and, dare I say it, fun. This is doubly true if you go and see the New Day. Big E does the craziest things, and that's because Big E is the greatest person ever born. Oddly too, it means that the atmosphere that sometimes you don't get on Raw or SmackDown is actually present here, but that's because, again, there's no strict running times, there's no format you have to stick to. Guys and girls are allowed to go out there, do whatever the hell they want, perform the finish they're told, and anything else is totally up to them. This is why there'll be such a welcome presence when they do return, and I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I went to a house show in Manchester around about 15 years ago, and Triple H spent the entirety of his match yelling at some dude in the front row, but he was doing it in the right way. He was doing it for a joke. That guy was having the time of his life, and even I was like 30 rows back. I was having the time of my life too, and that's because house shows, deep down, are flipping great. Know of any other secrets you only learn when you attend a WWE house show? Make sure you let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com, read yourself some articles, follow What Culture on Twitter, WhatCultureWWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. Naito. My name is Simon from What Culture. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon.